Okay, I think I'm ready to start a video. Hello guys, how the heck are you doing? I hope you're doing swell. I am back here with another video, and it's kind of a little bit of a different vibe than what we're used to. So I have told a lot of stories as a TikToker on lives and stuff like that, and everyone seems to really enjoy them. I used to tell a bunch of them all the time, and we just call it story time with Lacey. And I have decided to maybe start putting some of those in video form on YouTube because I always enjoy listening to story times. I feel like I have a lot of different life experiences that end up being kind of crazy. And a lot of times me and Julie, my best friend, end up talking about them on our podcast, which if you did not know, we have one. It's really good in my opinion. Could be a little biased. It's independent and unstable. You can search that anywhere you listen to podcasts. But without further ado, I thought it was a good time to tell you the story of how I got let go / fired from my job, because I am a full-time creator and businesswoman now, but that was not by choice. I did not feel comfortable enough to make that choice. My work did it for me. It was a very foul move and it was very rude, and someone had me tell them the story the other day and I got pissed about it. So I was like, you know what? Let's take that energy. Let's take it straight to YouTube. So I'm going to be telling you that story. If you want to hear it, please go ahead and give it a listen. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty shitty, but you know, we all grew from it, really. I had a lot of hot girl moments, but I grew from it. It was definitely a toxic work environment, so it was one of those things, like, as soon as it happened, my dad was like, this was meant to be, like, you hated it there and you weren't going to quit, but it was still very stressful. If I did not quit, I would still be there working so that I had a, constant income, because that's really nice to know how much you're going to make, not just... I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not telling you where I worked or any of the names of the employees because of two very important reasons. One, if I told you where I worked and you felt compelled to call or whatever, the person who would be answering those calls is one of my favorite humans, so you would just be doing her a disservice, who also agrees that it was very shitty, and we're still friends. Two, this is a very large company that's actually on a global setting, and I don't think that they should be put in a bad light just because of a couple bad eggs, but it was very ridiculous. This was just a very bad situation all around. So let's jump right into the entire story. Okay, without further ado, let's get down in the bread and butter, okay? So to start off, I will tell you that this was a job that I was excited for because it was something that seemed like it would be kind of fun for me to do. It was up a lot of my alleys, and it was a very all-encompassing job. It had a lot of different facets to it that I like. I like to be fast-paced. I like to have things to do, but they did tell me, like, it might take you a couple years to fully learn this job. So I was like, okay, cool. But I also want to say that I was not a perfect employee at this job. I will 100% admit that. But I was also very transparent about it, because I'll explain. So in the beginning, it was me and that other person, and we were training under somebody who had been there for a very long time. Most respect to that woman. She was fantastic. She was a great trainer, and she was just a great human. No hate towards her at all. But we were learning under her, and she had been there so long that she kind of had a little bit of difficulty giving up things. So she wasn't necessarily teaching us as much as we could be learning, because she had a hard time letting go, because this had been her entire career. And I totally understand that. But it was hard for us because we really needed to be at a place where we knew more, but we just didn't, because she wasn't showing us all aspects. Winter of last year hit, and that is when I had one of the worst mental times that I've experienced in a long time. It's when I discovered that I had PMDD, and my anxiety was just aggressive. Like, I would have anxiety attacks randomly. I would just not be able to stay at work. Like, sometimes I would leave like a half hour, 45 minutes early, and because I was literally having a panic attack, like, I would have to go to Julie's house and scream cry, and just before I could go home, because she lived really close to where I used to work. And so, because it was a farther drive from my house, but a very short distance to Julie's. So I would just literally have to hang out there and be like, I don't know what's wrong with me. So my boss noticed, and we had a conversation, and he was very straightforward about how he noticed I was slacking, and I opened up to him. I'm like, I know I'm slacking, and I hate that, because that's not the kind of employee that I am. I was like, I am a way better employee than this, but this is what's going on. And I broke down, and I was just very transparent with him. I was like, I do struggle with anxiety, and it is just really taking a hold of me. Like, I know it's affecting me. I need to start going to therapy again. Like, is that okay if, every 2 weeks or something I go to therapy? And he's like, absolutely. Like, mental health is important, yada, yada, yada. Like, he was very supportive at that point, and it made me feel really good. So I started back in therapy. I got on medication, and I really started to feel better. So I would check in with him like, hey, I'm on medication. I'm feeling better. How am I doing? And this job was really bad about communication. So I never knew for sure. The only time I ever got communication was if I did something wrong. So then a couple months pass and I get moved to a different location, and it was very shitty. Like, he basically came in and there were rumors that he heard that I debunked all of them, because I worked with a lot of men who didn't realize that they weren't the boss. And so he just screamed at me and basically told me I was a piece of shit and said, you're moving to this other location that you've verbally told me you don't want to go to because you're afraid of the salesman there, but you're going there today. So I had to pack up and move to a different location against my will. But I did get the chance to debunk his little rumors that he had, because, you know, they were just little shit things. Like, there was like 2 or 3 things that were accurate out of the 10 list, and I explained those to him. But I get moved to this other location, and like I had told him, I'm like, I'm nervous because I don't want to let these 2 salesmen down, because I don't know everything yet, because I haven't been here long enough, and I feel like they expect greatness because the last person that had my job was very fucking good at it, because she had also been in this, you know, line of work for a very long time. And he's just like, fucking figure it out, essentially. So I get down to the other location, and I am nervous, obviously, and I'm very stressed because I just don't want to, you know, let these 2 down. I want to make friends down here. I want to just do my job well. You know, like, that is something I always try to do. Like, I like to do my job well. And immediately I am met with my fears being answered. Now, while these 2 salesmen sometimes were very kind, very nice to me, and we would have really good conversation, there was also times when they would just be straight up assholes to me. Like, they wanted me to do jobs that weren't mine, and I had the one person that was training me in my ear, like, don't do those things, like, that's their job. But then I have my boss who's like, make everything happy and blah blah blah. And then it gets to the point that I am being verbally assaulted. And when I don't take things lightly, like, I've got some tough ass skin, okay? I grew up with an older brother and a dad who their love language is roasting you. So, like, I'm not a soft little bitch, but when I am having somebody bring something to me that is aggressively not my job or not my problem, but they're like, you're a fucking idiot, I can't believe you didn't know how to do this, like, you're so, like, I just can't believe you have been sitting here and you don't even know how to do your fucking job, everything's gonna come through my goddamn desk. Like, that's what it was. Like, I'm not being dramatic. There was so many days that I would literally have to just sit in my truck and cry because I was being verbally assaulted by grown-ass men at my job. And when I would bring it to my boss, like, hey, what do I do here? He would just be like, oh, sometimes maybe you just need to be a bitch, you know, maybe you just need to give it back to them. Like, you don't need to be doing their job. And it was just like, he was telling me that, but then he had to have been telling them something else. Like, there was never a conversation. And this just kept happening. Like I said, I'm not going to act like I'm a perfect employee. There was definitely times that I probably messed up. There was definitely times that I probably could have done my job better. But I also admitted that, and I would try to learn every day. I was trying. And I think that's the biggest thing. And so one day, the particular salesman gets mad because I wanted him to check before I would send out the billing to the customers, because I'm like, you know prices, you talk to these customers, you know things. Will you please check them before I send them out so that there is another set of eyes? And he's like, no, because then that just becomes my problem. You should know how to do this shit. That is what he said to me. And so I was like, okay. So then I send out bills, and every single bill, I mind you, there's not been issues, but there was one customer in particular that there was just a slight little mishap that he would have caught immediately, because as soon as the customer brought it in, he caught it. And so the customer, we all figured out, the customer's not even upset. Salesman goes into his office, and I sit down, and then he comes out to where I'm at, and he's like, so what are we going to do about this so this doesn't happen anymore? And I, at that moment, didn't know what to do, because I'm like, well, I was like, I don't want you to feel like I'm ignoring you. I was like, I don't know how to handle this, because I was like, I don't know how to handle this because the suggestion I have, you've already said you don't want to do, you know? And he's like, oh no, every fucking thing is gonna go across my goddamn office. It's gonna come through my desk before it gets sent out. I can't believe this whole fucking time I thought you were doing your job and you have no goddamn idea. Like, I mean, he is going in. And there's been times that he also had slammed doors and screamed and all of them. And they had said inappropriate things. Like, it was just too much. And so finally that was like my breaking point. So like, I texted, my boss was on vacation, so I emailed him. I'm like, I'm going to the other office to cool down because I am crying. I cannot do this anymore. We have to have a conversation. So we talk that Wednesday when he gets back, and I'm like, listen, I don't know what else to do. Like, I don't know if I need to go. Like, I was like, I don't know what to do, but I'm like, am I doing my job okay? And he verbally is telling me, yes, they have nothing but great things to say to you about you. I don't understand why they're so aggressive to you. And I'm like, okay, well, like, obviously me being a bitch, I can't do that. That's not in my blood. So like, I need something to happen because this is not fun. I don't want to be verbally assaulted every fucking day of my job, essentially. Like, at least once a week, I'm crying. And so he seemed very supportive. Like, he's like, I get it. Like, I don't want a toxic work environment for anyone, this, that, and the other, yada, yada, yada. And so I feel like, okay, things are going to get solved. Things did not get solved. Literally Friday, that 2 days later, my boss comes down to my office and I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? Because it's a different location. He's like, oh, can we actually talk for a little bit? And I'm like, okay, I'm happy. Like, I feel like, he's probably talked to the salesman. Now he's going to talk to me. Like, I feel like everything's good. I feel like we're Gucci, I feel like he's going to be like, you know what? It's fine. No one's going to be yelling at you no more. No. He's like, we're actually going to let you go. And my heart dropped to my motherfucking asshole so goddamn quick. I was like, huh? And he's like, yeah, you can actually pack up and leave. And I was like, just stunned. Like, I literally don't even know the emotion I felt. And I'm just so glad I didn't cry till I got to my truck, because then I just like walk in and I literally am looking at my office and I'm getting ready to pack up things. And then because he has to watch you. I know that's protocol. But he has like sitting there and I'm like, can I ask why? And he just says, we're moving in a different direction. And they laid me off so that I could file for unemployment, which, fun fact, I never got, because I think that honestly that was their solution. I think that he just felt like we were never going to fully get along, so it was easier just to let me go because I wasn't as important. I wasn't there 40 years and had all this experience and had a big name in the area. Bullshit. So I think that genuinely they just thought it'd be easier just to let me go, and they thought if they did it by laying me off, that it would be easier because then maybe I could get unemployment and everything. But I didn't. Unemployment, I filed for it, never got it. So I was fully self-employed at that exact moment. I did get a whole whopping weeks of severance pay. And also I just want to add you that the biggest benefit that I was at that job was the insurance. And then I just didn't have it. And I was like, that fucking sucks. But I was all emotions. I get out to my truck with all my shit and I'm just blubber crying. Like, I don't know what to do. I call my dad, but then I'm like, I don't even know how to, like, I was given nothing, like no information. Like, literally you're going separate ways. I have no idea how to file for unemployment. I have no idea what to do. Like, so I somehow, like, I call corporate, which is in a whole nother state in the West. And I'm like, I just got fired. I don't understand why. Can I get some kind of like HR people? And so then HR calls me on a Saturday that next day, that morning, and was like, hey, and you could tell they were doing damage control because I was throwing out everything. I'm like, I have heard racial things. I have heard homophobic things. Like, this is a terrible work environment that you were trying to make sure is so fucking perfect. And I've literally sat here and dealt with the sexist remarks. I've dealt with being screamed at. I've dealt with being called names. And now I'm the one who's getting let go because of this bullshit. And she was like, well, we'll be taking care of, like, and I'm like, no, you're not, but whatever. So it was just, she told me, she assured me that they were going to be having a conversation with that salesman and going to be doing better. And I'm hoping that there was at least one seminar in my name, and I hope that that pissed them off, because like I just dealt with so much shit, dealing with hearing so much shit. I was called the most liberal one there because, they just were so mean about that. Like, they're like, she's as liberal as they come, because it was an ag job, so everyone there was aggressively conservative. And like, I just dealt with it all. I just dealt with it all with a smile on my face, and then I'm the one that gets fired. I'm the one that gets fired. I was so mad. I was so incredibly mad. Oh, it's still, honestly, like, to this day, it just grinds my gears. It does, I'll be honest, because it was literally just such a shitty thing to do. And I cannot, like, I just, like I said, he could have like lied to me. Like, if you're watching this somehow, boss that I won't name, that I want to name, you could have said that I wasn't a great employee or wasn't good at my job. And I have a heart that I would have been like, fuck yeah, you're right. Because I know that I wasn't a perfect employee. But the fact that you couldn't even have the balls to have a conversation with me really upsets me. Like, the fact that it wasn't like a, hey, like, we just feel like this is better, that you guys aren't ever going to get along, and like maybe explain that I could have gone on unemployment and maybe given me some tips on how to do that, or given me at least a single contact in HR to have that conversation so I know what I'm doing. That would have been really cool. But you didn't, because you're a coward. So that's fine. But anyway, that is how I lost my job. I know that a lot of people are always curious what I do full time, because obviously my cows are pets, and so we don't make money from them. this is what I do. I really enjoy what I do, but it is very stressful because you never know how much you're going to get paid. I don't get paid on most social media platforms. I don't get paid here yet. I don't get paid on Snapchat, Instagram. TikTok is like little pennies that they throw you just to keep you posting. It's bad. It's really bad. But, you know, my business is what I want to build, and that's what I love, and I'm glad that I get to do it, but it was not my choice to do social media full time. That was given to me by a little asshole that we will not name, but I want to. But I'm not. I am a bigger person. And it did teach me a lot, and honestly, it was a toxic work environment. Obviously, you guys can tell, so it was better that I left, but honestly, I would not have if the choice was given to me. But that is all I have for you. If you enjoy these story times, I have plenty, and so if you want to hear about them, I am more than happy to do some story times because I love telling stories. Okay, I'm working on a stand-up bit at this point, but let me know in the comments if you want to. If you like this video, give it a like. That'll also help me if this is something you guys want to see. And with that being said, I'm just gonna get off here and go probably be pissed today a little bit because I'm reliving it again. But I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week. You can check out my links below. Make sure you subscribe. But anyway, I'll see y'all later, all right? Peace out.